yeah, it makes me really angry how much women kind of limit their own, self-expression, their own self-esteem, their own self-love, their own, finding plans for life, what to do, because of their first need to decide whether they have children or not. And when I published my book like 10 years ago, I just, still have a lot of like readings and lectures, and I just realized more and more that there are so many women who are struggling with this question. And
many women are afraid that suddenly they will wake up one day in their 50s and be like, wow, I don't have kids. I messed up my whole life. Everything is worthless now. And
there are a lot of women who make a lot of like bad compromises in their workspace, in their partnerships, if because they think they have to decide on this question, and they feel totally stuck in their 30s.
You even have numbers that say that the amount of people who regret remaining childless in their 50s is really not as big. It's the opposite. Many people who decided not to have children, they stick to their decision and are happy also in their 50s and 60s. And still, it's like a myth that stays with us, and that many women are really freaking out about.
Welcome, my name is Andrea Thiele and I'm your host. And today I'm delighted to speak to Sarah Diehl and Anna Schmutte. Introduce Sarah quickly. Sarah is Childfree. She lives in Berlin as an author and an activist. She has published novels and non-fiction books, and her work is always driven by the question of how women's self-determination are undermined in our society. In her bestseller, The Clock That Doesn't Tick, she analyzed from cultural, sociological, and political perspectives the manipulative function of the motherhood ideal in our society, and why childless or child-free women have such a poor image as a result. Anna Schmutte, is the mother of a 4-year-old son, and she spent several years as a dancer in Hamburg and Berlin. Her interest in the body and how experiences are stored within led her to pursue body therapy even after ending her dance career. She developed her own body-oriented coaching style that combines body work and embodiment with solution-focused conversation and systemic coaching. Anna had her child at the age of 43 and was uncertain for a long time whether she truly wanted to have a kid or not. So, and Anna and Sarah are giving together workshops called Die Kinderfrage, where women can find out whether or not they want to have children. Welcome, Anna and Sarah.
Very nice to have you. Thank you.
Hello.
How did the idea giving these workshops, did this come from a personal experience that either one of you said we really need to have something like that, to offer something like this to women? So how did this come about?
Yes, exactly. It came from the wish to offer something like this to women. For me, at least, because I struggled for a long time with my ambivalence. I wasn't sure if I wanted kids or not. And yes, after reading Sarah's book, I felt much better, because I felt that the option of not having a child is totally doable, let's say. And but nevertheless, I decided to have a child then at some point when I was 42, and then I got my child at 43. And yes, I just had the big wish to help other women who were like uncertain and struggling with this time frame where you feel that it's coming to an end. You have to decide soon, otherwise your body will decide for you. Yes, to offer some help there to have a good and reliable decision. And this is why I was really happy to meet Sarah. Yes.
Sarah also has her own experience with that, I guess.
But it was, as you introduced me, it was actually really more about that it makes me really angry how much women kind of limit their own, self-expression, their own self-esteem, their own self-love, their own, finding plans for life, what to do, because of they first need to decide whether they have children or not. And when I published my book like 10 years ago, I just still have a lot of like readings and lectures, and I just realized more and more that there are so many women who are struggling with this question. And there were a lot of women in my audience sometimes who said like, oh man, we really would need a workshop, to really, fathom what the kind of the issues I try to develop in my book really has to do with our lives and how it really shapes our lives. Yeah, and this is why I was also really happy to meet Anna, who's, has a therapeutical Ausbildung.
Background also.
Background, yeah, to develop the thing, which I now perceive as like a totally like a feminist powerhouse, because there's so many women who really, especially because they talk to each other and really share stories and share their perspective with each other. They just realize how much wisdom and how much determination and how much inspiration is already inside of them, and which is triggered by this question also, to find freedom, to find self-love, to find, self-confidence. And this is why it's a really nice topic I continue working on, I mean, I actually started working on the topic of abortion and abortion rights. So this was kind of my starting point, and then I moved on to the question why childlessness is so stigmatized. And I always loved to, let's say, combine theory and practice, So, and I think this is a really nice way how to bring all the things, where you theorize about in a book into practice with other women together. And this is why, I like this work so much. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. Is there, I mean, it's first, I think the combination of you two, that is what it makes it really cool, because, you can really come there and you have, for each side, someone to talk to. And how did you experience the situation in Germany? Because I think from outside, sometimes Germany looks very progressive. How do you find, like, as a woman to grow up? Are we so progressive, or how did you experience German women?
Also I perceive it as there's the total backlash right now, and I think the backlash is because I would always say like patriarchy is kind of reinventing itself like in a very clever way, and I think it works a lot through a certain idea of perfectionism, Also I feel like femininity or motherhood has to perform now in such a perfect way, and that totally undermines and limits resources and capacity of women to actually really, find their own path and really go their own ways. And I see this, also whether you are a mother or not, like if it's about terms of, how to perform to be successful in everything, in your work as well, also in being a mother, for example, I think I think in Germany, perfectionism is still like a huge, let's say, like, this kind of wrong incentive of success, but it kind of totally limits your idea what to do with your life, what to do with your free, free spirits, free rooms, free time to, so it all has to be dedicated to this kind of perfectionism, and I think this kind of limits totally the ways how women can actually feel and, think about what they actually want in life. Yeah.
Is it, do you feel like, is it still stigmatized not having kids, like being child free, like making that conscious decision? Have you ever felt that? Either one of you? Anna, you were also child free for a while.
Yeah. Actually, I experienced it not much, but here and there I did. Like, for instance, the family of my uncle at one point started to talk with me a lot about, why don't you have kids? You could do it easily with your job, and you're a freelance. You could arrange yourself around the kid, and why not? Children are amazing, and like completely invasive in a way. I was really shocked. I was already in, I think, at the end of my 30s when this came, and I was completely in shock that this, because it never happened to me before. I was always very sure that I didn't want kids, and then this talk came up, And also another time while going out in my early 30s, a guy approached me and started to talk about why didn't I have kids and so on. But these were like two really outstanding moments for me that made me think, or made me realize that it is a topic. I hadn't realized that before. I wasn't so aware of it. And later, about what Sarah said about the perfectionism, I can totally feel it, because when I got my child, in the beginning, I was, and even though I had read Sarah's book before and other books, and I'm aware of like feminism and consider myself one, I was totally into this unconsciously. I was trapped by this ideal of a mother has to know everything from within. Let's say intuitively, you have to know how to treat your child and how to do what. And it was so strong that I didn't even allow myself to like read a book about mothering or to listen to a podcast or something, because I thought I have to know by myself, like it will come naturally. And then at some point I was completely burned out after my first year of being a mom. And I was like, okay, I need help. This is way more than what I thought it would be. Like it's more complex and more complicated and more tough than what I thought. And then I realized that I didn't allow myself to get help, because I thought, yes, it's all in me. I just have to miraculously unlock it somehow. And that was a real shock for me to realize that too. So yes, I think it's very true about the perfectionism and this trap in which we are still very much caught, even if we don't realize it sometimes. Yeah.
I would like to add two things about the stigma of childlessness, because I think the interesting thing is that, for example, I didn't experience it so much from outside, but I think it also had to do with, I chose my friends, I chose my bubble, so there were not so many people who give me this kind of pressure or believe strange ideas about, how sick you are when you are childless. But I think, first of all, I think it's a huge problem also how much women internalize the stigma, how much they think, okay, I am wrong. There's something emotionally, developed in the wrong way because I don't want to have children. So this kind of imagery of childless women as being like weird or like psychologically strange is so internalized by women that they feel themselves, they kind of have a problem to fight against these kind of cliches, and they really question themselves and are in doubt, even though they're pretty sure they don't want to have kids, but that they kind of doubt themselves so much. And this, I think, needs a lot of analysis, why it's so internalized so much. But on the other hand, I also want to say that I think it's actually more mothers who are stigmatized in real life than childless women, because I think actually it's mothers who have much more problem in the workspace, who have much more problem in, as Anna said, kind of distancing themselves from this perfectionism, or, to really demand equal work with their partners, because everybody says you can do it better because you have, instinctive knowledge about it, and then women go crazy when they don't, so the interesting thing is that, the imagery of childless woman is worse. I think it's really like there's kind of a connection to kind of a sickness or like an emotional childishness in a way, like they don't want to grow up and stuff like this, or they don't want to do what women are being meant to, which is taking care of other people, and not just taking care of themselves, which is also, I think, a reason why men are forgiven to be childless, but women are not, because they have to be the one who are social, who are caring for other people, and if they don't, then they don't kind of do what they are meant for in nature and society. But on the other hand, it's actually childless women who have, more possibility to get money, they don't have so much expenses, they have less problem with the glass ceiling in their jobs, so there's a weird twist, you know what I mean, in this in the stigmatization in theory and practice also.
Absolutely. I think always it's like it's I always say it's the same thing but on the opposite side, right?
Mm,
Because it's like either you are not a mother, you know, and that's then there's something wrong with you, or usually you're like not a good enough mother, right? Because the standard is so high, so you can never reach that either. So it's like both sides somehow feel as if there's something missing.
yeah.
So, which is like, you know, then and so that's where it comes actually together. So we're actually having the same problem in the end, or same yeah, mindset thing.
But this is exactly the reason why we think it's so great, that we bring both sides together in our course, because when the women listen to each other, they realize, man, we have the same problem. It's not just that the childless woman and the mother, they are two kind of identities and they are different. No, it's not like this. Like we all have the same problem, and it's not. And this is, I think, also one thing we really want to convey in our course, that your identity is not depending on whether you have kids or not. It's not depending on that. And I think this is alone such a relief for so many women to realize, and then makes it also easier to make a decision, because then you think like, okay, my identity is not totally determined by it. Yeah.
Mm. Absolutely, absolutely. And so what would you consider is like one of the biggest mind fucks around that topic, also around that decision, whether it's identity or whether it's stigma, whether it's like fear of regret, what is the biggest one that you see also through your course that women struggle with?
I can start.
Mhm.
Or, well, I think one thing that I realize is that how limited women feel in their 30s to make plans for their life. How much they feel like, I cannot, pursue my interests, or my pleasure, or whatever I would like to explore, or what I would like to change, because first I have to know whether I want to have kids or not, and then I can make plans for the rest of my life, and how much the idea, as the rest of my life, is totally depending on the question whether I have kids or not, and that you cannot actually, really design the rest of your life by yourself also after your 40s, like it's not just the question whether you have a family or not, but that you can really be very active about, deciding what you want to do in the last 40 years of your life, and it's not just a question of motherhood or childlessness, and that there are a lot of women who make a lot of like bad compromises in their workspace, in their partnerships, if because they think they have to decide on this question, and they feel totally stuck in their 30s, also because the fear of regret also comes along, that that they feel they really have to totally decide 100% on one path in their 30s, and this will determine the rest of your life. And then of course you are like, this is like too big, that drives a lot of women really crazy, I think.
Yes, I can totally confirm this, because yesterday I had a one-on-one coaching with the client. She's trying to get pregnant, and by IVF, and she's completely she was really broken. She was crying, and she was saying she's trying for so long now, and she's not even sure if she herself wants it, and she's actually doing it because somehow she can imagine being a mom, but also her partner wants it. And she's like, but when am I allowed to finally stop it, because it didn't work out until now? And when, her sentence literally was like, when am I allowed to pursue my own life again? Like, when can I start doing sports again? When can I make plans for the summer again, like my own trips that I want to do? And it was really heartbreaking to hear that. And she's in her early 40s. And apparently she has spent now 3 or 4 years trying really hard to become a mother, and not even being sure if she fully wants that. And this is, I think, a really big fuck up, the thing that Sarah mentions about the 30s. And another one in my eyes is the fear of regretting remaining childless. like many women are afraid that suddenly they will wake up one day in their 50s and be like, wow, I don't have kids. I messed up my whole life. Everything is um, worthless now, and I will stay depressed until the end of my life. And obviously, it's a huge lie, because you even have numbers that say that the amount of people who regret remaining childless in their 50s is really not as big. It's the opposite. Many people who decided not to have children, they stick to their decision and are happy also in their 50s and 60s. And still, it's like a myth that stays with us, and that many women are really freaking out about it in the end of their 30s or beginning of 40s, that they are desperate to make a good decision because they might regret it later. And and we really want to offer a bit of flexibility and a bit take the pressure out and say it might be possible that you might be happy in both cases. Like, it's maybe you are completely sure you don't want, then that's fine, of course. But if you are not sure, if you are really ambivalent, it might be that you could be totally fine with having a child or not having a child. That both ways can be interesting and lead you to a happy, fulfilled life. And this is something I think is really important too.
What do you give like, what do you advise women to kind of like, what can they do to take this pressure off? Because I mean, I think there is just like this narrative of like becoming a mother and then having this I think the story that we have, you know, and then everything is going to be happy and you're gonna, it's this path, right, that you can see. And I think the other paths you cannot really see, and it feels very uncertain. Is that something? And how do you get the pressure off when women are really like,
I think one major key we found is that we really talk about the positive sides of ambivalence, you know, like combined with this idea that even after your 40s, you are totally, you know, you're still the mistress of ceremony, you know, like that your path is not determined only by the question if you have children or not, but you are an active player still, you know, about your social life and how you want to design your life and your social environment and all this, you know. And it's not the end, you know, with 40. And I guess also like we are good examples for it, because we're both in the middle of our 40s, you know, so we're like alive and kicking, you know. And
yeah, but I think this is also, and it depends probably of the background and your surrounding. I think, you know, in certain environments, or maybe like little like I don't know, like parts of even Germany, there's so much emphasis on this, and motherhood is being put on such a pedestal, you know, that you are just like, you are someone if you have a family. If you don't, you're not. And people let you also feel that a little bit.
Yeah, but I think on the other side, I think women, especially when they have a lot of like people around them who have families, they see the myth quite easily. You know, they see a lot of like you know, a lot of them, their girlfriends who are not happy. You know, who are like don't get enough sleep, you know, they cannot do the things they want to do. You know, they feel a bit like, you know, fucked by society in terms of money, in terms of pension, in terms of their workspace and everything. You know, so. This is what we also get, you know, that, I mean, we have a lot of women also who say like, I don't dare to be a mother, which I would actually like to be, because I see around myself like what a nightmare this can be, you know, and I don't know if I'm strong enough to really fight for equality with my partner, with my, you know, employee and all of this, you know. This is also the very sad other coin, which is also, you know, important to discuss all together in this group, you know. But again, this idea that your identity is not connected to this idea, I think this is a lot of relief, and it makes women feel like much more freedom to really see, okay, what do I actually feel, what do I actually want, you know.
So yeah, absolutely. So now I'm like, we're almost like coming to the end already. So there's like one question I ask everybody because of this fear of regret, right? There's like, so who's gonna hold your hand when you die? Who's gonna hold your hand when you die?
And if it's the nurse, I'm happy if she holds my hand, you know. But I think, you know, it can be like friends, it can be my lover, you know. It can be myself, you know. I don't know. I think one thing. I think it is very important that we think about concepts of caring for each other, you know, this which are not connected to the core family, you know, because I think this is the main game changer, I think, which is happening right now, that people realize the core family, which before, you know, was designed to take care of, you know, the needs of everything, so the employee doesn't have to take care of it, you know, so capitalism doesn't have to take care of it, so it has to be the woman at home who takes care of everyone. This doesn't work anymore, you know, or like women especially, or everybody tries to get away from it and really tries to design new ways of care, new ways of living together, you know. And I think this is the transition I see right now, you know, like that people look for new ways how to live together, care for each other, have like security also when you get old. But I think it has to be redesigned and rethought, you know. It's a process, but I think we are in the middle of this process, and I'm quite positive about it because I see it has an impact of every one of us. So it's an issue for all of us, you know. And this is why I'm positive about that there are very interesting new developments in this way, because we have to do it because we all age, you know, and we see, okay, if I have certain needs, I will find, you know, new systems, new structures, and establish them with other people. So I'm quite positive about this, you know.
Yeah, totally. I think this is totally the future, and I'm also like seeing this the beginning of that, and I think there needs to be much more. Um, do you know any project? Like, what do you think, Anna?
Project? What do you
Yeah,
mean?
like any project, like how do you see yourself aging? I
How
mean,
do
because maybe also it's like, I mean, there's always the thing, oh, my kid is gonna take care of me. So how do you see
I
that?
don't count with my kid at all. I want him to be free and to do whatever he wants. And if he happens not to be around when I'm aging or when I'm dying, that's his decision. And so I don't know. I'm confident that somebody will be there. And yeah, I really liked what Sarah says, even if it's the nurse, somebody or myself or my partner or my cousin, my sister. I have a younger sister. I think she might be there probably. Or yes, I don't really worry about that. It's yeah, I yes, but I don't think that my kid has to take care of me or to provide money when I'm older or to whatever. I don't. I'm happy if he wants to be close, but who knows? Life can take so many different roads suddenly. You cannot. I didn't get a child in order not to be alone when I'm old. Really not. I decided to have a child just to have fun with him while he's little and lives with me, and because I like to play with children, and because I found it really, really interesting to experience myself as a mother, and because I have a great partner who had the same wish, and we thought it'd be a good idea. But not in order to have a Altersvorsorge. I don't know how to say.
Yeah, like old age, kind of like, yeah, somebody there to take care of you
No,
when
no,
you.
no.
And
Yeah.
is there anything that we haven't addressed yet that you think should be like said, like that would complete it even more?
Yeah, maybe I would like to add that it's also it's so important that like childless people and people who are parents don't get divided so much, you know, like also not in terms of, oh, my life is nicer, you know, or I have more meaning in life and all this kind of stuff, you know, or more free, you know, because I think there's so many people who, because it's so much about cliches and who's better, they kind of yeah, they kind of play along in this game, you know, like to say like, oh yeah, childlessness is stigmatized, but I want to prove that it's so much nicer to be a parent, you know, than to be a parent. And I think that's also very sad, you know, and I think this is also really why I like this work so much, because we always emphasize, no, you can have, you know, great interest, pleasure, meaning in all certain ways, you know, and in the end the only thing that counts is your happiness and your fulfillment, you know, and if you can do the things you are interested in and you enjoy to do, you know, because I think your enjoyment, your pleasure is actually like the most intelligent path, the most intelligent, you know, how do you say, like sign you should follow, you know. And I think this is something we really want to convey in our course, you know, that it's not about society, it's not about the pressure, it's not about, you know, ideas of a meaningful life, but it's really about look inside your heart, what's your pleasure. And this is then the way where you are strong, where you have a talent, you know, where you have power and energy to really go this way, you know, whether it's about being a parent, being childless, or being a social parent, you know, this can also be an issue for a lot of people in our courses, you know. Yeah, and I think this is the best Wegweiser. What is Wegweiser in English? I don't know.
Wegweiser. Oh my God, that's the best direction maybe you can give. I don't know.
Yeah.
I can never translate it.
Compass, maybe.
Compass. Yes.
Compass, yeah. Nice one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. That it's really, it's like exactly so that the happiness kind of like comes from inside, and it's actually not so much about like whether you have kids actually, right? I think so too. I think so too. It's like you can, there's not much of a actually such a difference for oneself. I don't think, you know, it makes you happy or unhappy either way, right? So it's like it's not, but people think that. You always say childless. You don't have the terminology of child-free.
I'm just lazy. I'm sorry. Sometimes I need some time to catch up with new terms, and because, you know, I think it's also because for me it's not such an ideological thing. I don't, sometimes I don't have like, oh yeah, I have to say like child free, you know, like, but yeah, child free I guess is a better word. But you know, it's for me it's like it's always kind of a description of something which is not, and that's wrong for me anyway, you know, whether you say child free or childless, it's kind of, I don't identify with this at all, you know. So it's not a word, it's just really like a help to express something, you know, but not in a clever way, you know.
But that is actually a problem, I find, because it's very hard sometimes to address this issue, because it is, I mean, it is a different lifestyle or a different life path, right? But most women that I speak to say exactly the same thing. I do not identify as child free. I mean, either. I don't like these terms either. But you need to say, you need to call it something, and we don't really have a good name for it other than this. And that kind of like is also something I always like, I've been like many times coming across that, because it's hard then, like, how do you even address women if they don't even identify? They wouldn't even listen to you, because when you say that, they're like, that's not me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like the parents and the others.
Exactly. The others.
Whatever that means.
People who decided to become parents and people who decided not to be. No, it's also a negation. Okay. It's really hard. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's like, it's weird that there is no word for it that's actually good, or like in a
Oh, there is one. It's called witch. You know? No problem, you know.
Right, which perfect, awesome. Oh, this was great. Thank you so
No,
much.
but I'm a witch too. I mean, hello.
Of course, no, I'm sorry. Of course.
Absolutely.
Don't forget about that. Yeah, doesn't work, you know.
Doesn't work.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, we have to come up with a better name. So how can we get in touch? How can people get in touch with you? Where actually are you? Are you giving your workshops online? Are you giving them in person? How can people find you?
Yes, so we are giving workshops online, definitely, in German, and until now only in German, but who knows what might happen next year. Also in presence in Berlin, once a month. We do a workshop in presence. You can find all the dates for the presence workshops and also for the online course on our website, which is called diekinderfrage.de. I don't know, should I write it down maybe, or no?
I'll put it later on down below. Yeah. But die Kinderfrage, genau, Diekinder Frage. Well, I think it's just in
well,
German, so it should be in German anyway. Yeah, die
Yes.
Kinderfrage.
And also you can contact me for one-on-one coachings or also for couple counselings concerning the children yes or no topic. And we can do online sessions as well, or presence in Berlin. If you are in Berlin, then you can always come to my center where I work, but online is totally possible and fine for me too.
Say your website is what?
My website is annaschmutte.com. And maybe you can also write it in the links later, or I can send it to you. Yeah. My annaschmutte.com.
Perfect. And Sarah?
Yeah, I also have a website, and people can also talk to me if they want to. My website is like my name, Sarah with H in the end, .diehl.de. There you can find me.
And people can take also like coaching with you, like ask like about the whether to have kids or not, or but they can also find your books. You've written several books, right? And
Yeah.
it's both.
I mean, it's also like the next book I wrote after that was about the freedom of being the freedom of solitude, but it's also in German. And there are some people who want to talk with me about that issue also. So yeah, but I'm not a therapist, but there are people who enjoy talking about this topic, and they can also address me. Yes.
Perfect. The freedom of solitude, meaning like how also to spend time alone and not feel lonely. Is that it?
That's one thing, but also like to really see the huge capacity that you have, or like in a way how much you can actually connect to the world when you are alone. But it's a book which tackles the issue in a, let's say, like in a cultural science way as well as in a philosophical way, but also in a political way, because it also talks why especially for women it's harder, especially because we have this ideal that women have to take care of other people and not so much take care of themselves. So it's kind of devaluated if women want to be by themselves, travel by themselves or live by themselves, or have their own bed and not just sleep with a man in a bed all the time, even though they're married. So it's just an example, but that there's a lot of like really power in also determine your own space in a way, determine your own perception of yourself and not be so depending on other people so much, in terms of also your self-love and your self-confidence. So it tries to tackle a lot of different ways to kind of give a better picture, a more productive picture of solitude. Yeah.
Beautiful. Also, like how to deal, I mean, probably how to live that. And because I think that is like very important, because there is still that fear also.
Yeah,
right?
for me, it was kind of like a normal transition, not transition, but a normal progress from Die Uhr, die nicht tickt, The Clock That Doesn't Tick, about childlessness, this book, to this book. Also for me, it's kind of like a normal path in a way, Yeah.
Absolutely beautiful. Thank you. This was amazing. Thank you, you two. This was great. Thank you for
Welcome.
spending this time.
Yeah,
And
thanks for giving the space.